동니 닝제 송투 죽벨람 체체 세세 강종 덴제균 차나 베모 덴진 갸솔라 세와 뎁소 신된 흔줍쇼 제베 면지 상봉윤 순데 테린키 제림 고 조자난기 테린키 제고 벽여토 쇠교난게 규모 덴진 좀기 녜찰라야 인게토니 덴진 니말라기 쇠교난기레
Tashidele and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tenzin Yima. I'm going to be your MC in English, and I have my co-MC Tenzin Zumgila, who is going to be your MC in Tibetan. We would like to welcome you all to this special event organized by Regional Tibetan Association of Massachusetts. Today, we have gathered here to express our deepest gratitude to Congressman Jim McGovern for his unwavering support and dedication for the Tibet, for His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Tibetan cause. Please take your seats as we begin the program.
Terin pyogyalo nidong gyadangap chungajik pyonda dumbe tse nishutsachuk chilo nidong nishutsapshi dao gube tse nishutsapge nin sane Amos Massachusetts pyorichidun tsokbe koji shube ari trezo ome tumi kushab Jim McGovern chola tukje leksyo tang katin tensheki zegor pepe terinki kunjun so ari trezo ome tumi kushab Jim McGovern la cho chambe ningbo lingi keshe ngawan singela Boston kurukula chezo ne keshe ngawan chilela khongsa chodang phimi digzu ki lojang ari kusap thunju phumramba ngawan chudubla kapchubdin be lojang Amerike phegi chezo thumi chitu thundup sringla Washington DC ne kelchi phedön legu khangi sokso chisur tenchö gyasola sane Hampshire ngade chezo thumi linsi sabadosala sane Amos tang Granby Kyapgong ki ngade Trezo Tumi Mindy Domla, Sane East Hampton, Chongde Chikap Nicole La Chapelle La, Sane Northampton, Chongde Chikap Gina Louise Sierra La, Sane Amos Chongde Hengang Ki Sokso Lynn Grismer La, Nup Massachusetts Zongbyon Kusap Kristen Ilako La, Chisur Sherling Tenzin Dajen La, Sane Boston Purichidun Sokbe Sokso Yamatulu Tsang La, Sane Warmon Purichidun Sokbe Sokso Siring Yangi La, Sane Amos Massachusetts Purichidun Sokbe Sokso Surum Kusan La Tang Serga Mimang La Tsamdi Tashidele.
Today's event is going to be a full and exciting agenda filled with meaningful speeches and cultural performances. But before we begin the program, I would like to acknowledge the names of the esteemed guests for today's event. We have Chief Guest Congressman Jim McGovern of the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts. Keshe Ngawan Sengela from Jampel Nyingpo Live Center. Keshe Ngawan Tilela from Kurukula Center, Boston. Dr. Namke Chudubla, the representative of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Office of Tibet based in Washington, D.C. Tundup Suringla, the member of Tibetan Parliament in exile representing North and South America. Tencho Gyatsola, the president of International Campaign for Tibet based in Washington, D.C., also a former member of the Tibetan Parliament in exile. Lindsay Sabadosa, the state representative of 1st Hampshire District, Mindy Dome, the state representative for Amherst and Granby region, Mayor Liko LaChapelle of the city of East Hampton, Mayor Gina Louis Sciarra of the city of Northampton, Lynn Grismer, the president of Amherst Town Council, Kristen Eleko, the Western Mass Director of the Governor Maura Healey, Dadun Shalingla, the former member of the Tibetan Parliament in exile, Yama Tulu Tangla, the president of Tibetan Association of Boston, Tsring Yangkila, the president of Tibetan Association of Vermont, Chundim Kunsangla, the president of Regional Tibetan Association of Massachusetts. We are very honored to have you all here today.
Tene tumi lekshe lopte gegen tan lopchuk namne nechi o thongmar phyo gegap chimbu gelu tha thejela ari gegap chimbu gelu tongyu yi.
Now we would like to invite the students and teachers from Tume Lekshe School to lead us in singing the Tibetan National Anthem, followed by the United States National Anthem. Let us all please rise.
Tuche na gela tan lop tu so, tene zerim ngawa, tering ki zego kodik sokjong ki, somi chisur shaling da dren la ne, zego tan dewe ngoje songshe nangyu.
Thank you, students and teachers. Next, I would like to invite Chisu Dadun Shalingla, the former member of Tibetan Parliament in Exile, to give the welcome speech and introduce today's event.
Tashidileg, everyone, and very good afternoon. I want to take us all back to September 2012. That was when the Central Tibetan Administration convened a special general meeting of the Tibetan people. And this meeting was to discuss the crisis in Tibet in the wake of the self-immolation protests. So you could imagine 500 Tibetan leaders from across the world, from 20 plus countries, had convened in Dharamsala. And there was this sense of urgency, and there was also this sense of desperation, because Tibetan people were setting themselves alight, calling for freedom in Tibet and calling for the return of His Holiness the Dalai Lama back to Tibet. So amid such a desperate situation, there is a meeting right in Dharamsala. And as the then member of the Tibetan Parliament, I was tasked with the role to facilitate a discussion. This discussion was to talk about what the global community could actually do when Tibet finds itself in the throes of crisis and a tragic situation. And it was at that meeting that I got hold of a very significant piece of correspondence. And that letter was written or authored by Congressman Jim McGovern, along with Congressman Frank Wolf. And you had addressed the letter to the then Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. And that letter called for a global, coordinated action against People's Republic of China and their policies in Tibet. So what this letter was essentially saying is, like the international coordinated action to look into the situation in Syria, we need something very similar, in fact, stronger for Tibet. So you could imagine when that letter was read out and loud during that special general meeting, what I saw in that room was echoes of gratitude, that reverberated among all the attendees. Because that piece of letter instilled in the Tibetan people a deep-seated conviction in the support that was coming from the halls of US Congress. And that support was personified by Congressman McGovern. And now, coming back to 2024, 12 years, that sense of conviction, in Congressman Jim McGovern's commitment to the cause has only deepened. Therefore, today we are all here to really take a moment and think of the remarkable contribution that this one man, the leader, the fearless champion of the Tibetan cause has done. And again, in 1950s, when Tibet was under the brutal invasion of the Chinese Communist Party, our leader, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, chose peaceful resistance over retaliation. And it was his visionary, charismatic leadership that led all of us through that turbulent times onto the path of rebuilding what we lost, reviving and restoring our sense of self, our sense of identity, our sense of belonging. And therefore, the Tibet movement that we see today right here in this room is built on the spiritual and emotional resilience of the Tibetan people. And because of which, in today's age, when we see democracy backsliding, rising authoritarianism, deepening polarization, extreme violent mechanisms, and a lot of polarization and chaos, you look at Tibet, the spirit of the Tibetan people, the leadership of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. These are the beacon of hope And His Holiness the Dalai Lama's leadership epitomizes this hope, and I would attribute it to our friends like Congressman Jim McGovern, who continues to fuel this sense of hope. Therefore, all of us here, especially the Tibetan people, I think we're extremely fortunate to count on you as a friend, as a partner, as an ally, and as a fearless champion. And so the convening today, all of us will agree, is not just ceremonial, right? This is an event to honor the remarkable man, the person, the leader that Congressman Jim McGovern is. His fearless championing of the rights of the Tibetan people and likewise those of oppressed, I think reflects a core American value. And his tireless advocacy for the rights of Tibetan people, being a friend, a cherished friend of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I think will really be etched in the annals of the 21st century. Therefore, on behalf of the Regional Tibetan Association of Massachusetts, especially the organizing committee and all of us here, I would like to welcome all of you to join us in honoring the man who, according to me, and I'm sure all of us in this room will agree, is today one of the tallest leaders of the 21st century. Thank you very much.
Tushena Chisur Dajunla, Te Julaya, Sane Amos, Massachusetts, ki Puri Chidin Sope, Tsokso, Surim Kusanla ne, Sane Mangsu Tsap Shude, Tukche Chetan, Katin Tenshe ki, Sungshe Nangkyu.
Thank you, Chisur Dadun Shalingla, for that wonderful introduction. Up next, we have a heartfelt gratitude speech by President of Regional Tibetan Association of Massachusetts, Tsumdim Kunsangla, on behalf of the community members.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chief Guest Congressman Jim McGovern of the 2nd District of Massachusetts, and other distinguished guests and members of the local Tibetan community. On behalf of the Regional Tibetan Association of Massachusetts, I welcome you all this fine afternoon to honor and thank Congressman Jim McGovern for his tireless contribution to the cause of Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and Tibetan people. This past July 12, 2024, President Joe Biden signed the Resolve Tibet bill into law, a momentous occasion that will forever be remembered in Tibetan history. For Tibetans and supporters worldwide, this law represents hope and reassurance for our people. This important legislation wouldn't have been possible without Congressman McGovern, who introduced the bill on the House floor. Now part of US policy, this law demands that the government of People's Republic of China engage with His Holiness Dalai Lama to resolve the issue of Tibet. As Congressman McGovern so powerfully stated, and I quote, "No more false claims about Tibetan history or culture. Tibet has not been part of China since ancient times, and America will stand loud and clear for the truth," unquote. This bold stance is a testament to his commitment to justice, and we deeply applaud him for it. As a proud constituent of the 2nd District of Massachusetts, I'm honored to have Congressman Jim McGovern as our representative. His tireless work on human rights, freedom, and hunger locally and around the world is nothing short of extraordinary. We are proud to have such strong leadership in Washington. Despite China's retaliation, including sanctions against Congressman McGovern and his family, he continues to stand firmly for human rights in Tibet. In response to the sanction, he said he would wear them as a badge of honor. So there's little to gain for Congressman McGovern in championing the cause as far as his political interest is concerned, but the fact that he did is a reflection of his strong integrity, political will, and courage, and his commitment to speak his deep sense of justice and humanity. and for that, we thank him from the bottom of our hearts. Tibetans and supporters from around the world welcome the introduction and passage of the Resolve Tibet Bill into an act and organize celebrating events celebrating and thanking U.S. government, particularly noting vital role of Congressman Jim McGovern. Members of the Tibetan community in 2nd District of Massachusetts are gathered here today in similar spirit to express a collective appreciation and gratitude to Congressman Jim McGovern for his unwavering support for the Tibetan cause. His Holiness the Dalai Lama once said, "By supporting Tibet, you are not pro-Tibet or anti-China. You are pro-justice and pro-truth." Congressman Jim McGovern embodies this ideal, and we are grateful for his steadfast commitment to truth and justice. Before I conclude, I want to remind our Tibetan brothers and sisters that as we gather in unity today, it is crucial to reflect on the wisdom and guidance of His Holiness Dalai Lama. His lifelong commitment to compassion and nonviolence and well-being of Tibetan people has been our guiding lights. However, as His Holiness grows older, it becomes our responsibility to carry forward his mission, carry forward his vision by strengthening our unity and putting aside our differences. Thank you.
Tuje shena tsokso tsurimla te julaya zerim geba Tumilekshe lobte lobtuk chungwane chamba chwesan shebe tapshe pulam shugyu.
Thank you, Chundim Kinsangla. Now, please enjoy a cultural performance by the junior students of Tume Lekshe School, ages between 4 to 10 years. They will be performing Chamba Chosang. Let's give them a big round of applause, please.
Solo
투제체나 아와서 대줄어야 표제 게두 표지 gelji pöden legu kanki tsokso chisur tenchue gasolane zegodan dewe ngod sungshe nangyu.
Thank you, students, for that wonderful performance. We are now very honored to invite the President of International Campaign for Tibet to address us next. Please welcome Chisur Tenchue Gyatsola.
Thank you, everyone. Such a pleasure to join you all here. My name is Tenchue Gyatso. I am president of International Campaign for Tibet, based in Washington, D.C. And we, as ICT, working in Washington, D.C., we have the privilege to work with Congressman Jim McGovern over many years. And in that, I mean, Washington, D.C., it's not an easy, Congress is not an easy space to maneuver. And in that, it really helps when you have champions like Congressman McGovern, who'll always be there, and not only be there, but also telling us, what are you getting done? What's happening next? And just, you know, pushing us also and guiding us as well. The Reciprocal Access to Tibet Act, that nobody believed that would pass or that could be done. But it was Congressman Jim McGovern who introduced that, and behind his leadership, we all rallied, all the Tibetan communities in North America, ICT members, Students for Free Tibet, all the Tibet groups rallied together. So under amazing circumstances in a Congress where there was really difficult to pass many bills, Reciprocal Access to Tibet passed, and that opened the door also for a number of other bills on China to be passed. So I think Congressman's leadership is there, front and center for Tibet, the Tibet Policy and Support Act of 2020. Again, that's one where we work closely with Congressman McGovern, Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, other leaders in Congress to work. And I think these passage of these bills really help strengthen support for Tibet in the United States. And when that support increases, then the world also pays attention and is able to, as a movement, build on it across worldwide. The latest bill being the Resolve Tibet Act. Again, this kind of bill would not have passed 10, 15 years ago. But here, during a space, Congressmen, and I have to also mention the staff who work in Congressman Jim McGovern's office. They are the ones who are there constantly working closely with all of us to figure out what are the steps that needs to be done and pushing it forward. So without Congressman's leadership, such steps and bills, and what these bills do is these bills help institutionalize support for Tibet so that it doesn't depend on who are the next members of Congress or who are the next leadership coming into the State Department, into the White House, because then it is institutionalized in what the US government will do for Tibet. So I think that's really important. I want to also say thank you to Congressman Jim McGovern's family. Your wife, Lisa, has also traveled not to Tibet as well as recently to Dharamsala. And from this June, when we traveled to Dharamsala with the congressional delegation, Congressman Jim McGovern was there. There was also Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. There was also Chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Congressman Michael McCall. So bipartisan leaders coming together on Tibet, putting their ideas and hands together to support this cause, even when they are from a different political spectrum. And I think this really goes to show the support for Tibet in the United States. My organization is International Campaign for Tibet, and I see you have ICT members here, few of you amongst the Tibetans also, but this organization really shows support across United States, people's support for Tibet. And I think that also helps when we try to build congressional support. And I have people from all ways of life who say they have been touched by Tibetan culture, they have been touched by the message of His Holiness, or they have traveled to Tibet and been touched by Tibetan people, Tibetan refugees in Nepal, Tibetan refugees in India, they're seeing Tibetans inside Tibet, and that connection has spread in America, where an organization like ours exists, not because of, we don't have any government funding or anything like that. We have grassroots Americans supporting this. So I think really grateful to this great country and its people for the support, for Congress, for support. And then I think also here, I just wanted to say thank you to the Tibetan community here. You're doing this event for your congressman and making sure that, representing our Tibetan brothers and sisters, because I know each Tibetan has a story to tell. So from our cause, the reason that we are all here in another country is not because we come here for our, for anything other than because the reason is political, because our country has been occupied by China, and that forced us, the Tibetans, into exile, and we have to remember that it's a political cause, and we're here to fight that. And as ICT, we're an organization that's funded grassroots by American people to support the Tibetans in that cause. So as president of ICT, it's my also honor also to share with you all our regards and warmest greetings from our whole membership and our board. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Tuchechena chisur tenchu kyasola tejuloya Khongsa choda pymitik zuki chang ari kuzap thunche phumramba namge chudupla ne sekotan dewe sungshe nangyu.
Thank you, Chisur Tencho Gyatsola. Next, we have a special speech from the representative of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Office of Tibet based in Washington, D.C. Please welcome Dr. Namgyel Chudupla.
Tashidalek, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Central Tibetan Administration, I would like to extend my warm greetings to everyone here. Today, we are gathered here to honor a true champion of human dignity, freedom, and democracy, Honorable Congressman James McGovern. In an age where political discourse often seems dominated by division and discord, Congressman McGovern stands out as a beacon of hope and compassion. His unwavering commitment to social justice, human rights, and the fight against hunger makes him not just a representative of Massachusetts' 2nd District, but a champion for those whose voices are often silenced. Mr. McGovern's leadership fosters a sense of trust, connection that is often lacking in contemporary politics. His leadership reflects a moral imperative that transcends politics. He understands that our humanity is interconnected. His leadership and advocacy has been pivotal in bringing awareness and support to the challenges faced by the Tibetan people. Through his tireless efforts, he has amplified our voices, ensuring that our quest for freedom and democracy is heard in the halls of power, even as far as Beijing, when China recently honored him by sanctioning him. In brief, Congressman McGovern embodies the qualities we should seek in our leaders: integrity, empathy, and an unwavering commitment to justice. His legacy is not just marked by the legislation he has passed, but by the lives he has touched and the communities that he has uplifted. In a world where political figures often fall short of our expectations, Congressman McGovern reminds us that true leadership is about serving others, advocating for the voiceless, and striving for a better tomorrow. Today, let's celebrate Congressman McGovern, not only for his remarkable contributions, but also for his belief in a world where every person can thrive free from oppression, hunger, and injustices. So thank you once again, Congressman McGovern, for your steadfast support and for being a beacon of hope and shining light for Tibet and beyond. Thank you.
Tuchena Kungola, Tejulaya, Tumilekshe, Lopte, Loptu Gemba Namne, Tapshe Emma Ongo, Sache Shebe Pulam Shugyu.
Thank you, Dr. Namki Chudubla. Now we turn to another cultural performance by the senior students of Dume Lekshie School. They will be performing Ema Hola Ngotsarche. Let's show them our appreciation with a round of applause.
Tushena Luptuso, Te Julaya, Pandin Sigon Chone, Kushap Jim McGovern Chetu, Mixeki, Nienti, Tongyabate, Pulam Shuyi.
Thank you, students, for that wonderful performance. Next up, we have a very special message, a video message from the President of Central Tibetan Administration in Exile, Pempa Tsering-la, on today's event.
Hello, Jim. Our very good friends, Jim McGovern, and Tibetan friends who have gathered to felicitate Jim McGovern for his contribution towards the cause of Tibet. I'm very fortunate to be considered a friend of Jim, and he had been to Tibet, he had been to Dharamsala 2 times or 3 times, I don't know, with his wife, and we enjoy a very special relationship. Every occasion there is a Tibetan legislation, Jim is always behind that, and his staff has been supporting him all through on all Tibet-related matters, and we are very proud to have him as a friend, not only for Tibet, but all those who suffer human rights violations all around the world, and anybody who is unprivileged, Jim always represents. And he has followed through with all the ideas that we discussed together, and in fact he has been the linchpin of every legislation, every idea that we discussed together and came up with. When Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi provides the leadership, she always entrusts the job to be done by Jim McGovern. So thank you very much, Jim, for all your support. We really value your support. We know that you are sanctioned by the Chinese government. We also know that you don't have any property that needs to be seized or freeze or frozen by the Chinese government. And I know you will wear this as a badge of honor, just like all others who had before you. So thank you very much, and to you, your family also, for all the support. And I want to join the Tibetans in Amherst in Massachusetts who are part of this celebration to felicitate you. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in the coming months. Thank you.
Zirim chungi kap chubdun be pyo mimang lochang Amerike chidun sobe konda kap chubdun be pyo mimang lochang ari chidun tundup sring la ne zegodan dewe songshe nangyu.
It is my honor to now invite the North and South America member of the Tibetan Parliament in Exile, Tundup Tsering-la, to deliver his speech.
Good afternoon, and Tashidilek. On behalf of the 17th Tibetan Parliament in Exile, and on my own behalf, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the distinguished guests, local and state elected officials, and members of the Tibetan American community who are gathered here, as well as those who are joining us virtually to witness this celebration of the honoring of Congressman Jim McGovern. So welcome to you all. For many of us who are gathered here, Congressman Jim McGovern needs no introduction. from holding those accountable for the murder of the 6 Jesuit priests in El Salvador way back in 1989, even before Congressman McGovern took his office, and impacting a change in terms of the foreign policy of the United States government that made it contingent that the human rights situation in El Salvador needs to improve for US to continue providing military aid. Likewise, Congressman Jim McGovern, as we all know, was responsible for the Global Magnitsky Act, an act that held world leaders accountable, responsible for violating human rights. And today, in this complex, crisis-filled world, Congressman Jim McGovern stands with the people of Gaza and Israel and calls for an immediate ceasefire. Congressman Jim McGovern has been tirelessly working to end hunger in the world, protect human rights, and promote peace. Congressman McGovern has also consistently stood up for the people of Tibet. He's responsible for the first ever standalone bill on Tibet, the Reciprocal Access to Tibet Act, one of the most consequential legislation that held Chinese leaders accountable if they failed to provide access to US government officials, journalists, and citizens like you and me who wish to visit Tibet. Similarly, in 2020, Congressman Jim McGovern authored the Tibetan Policy and Support Act, which clearly made it a US policy stating that the future reincarnation of His Holiness the Dalai Lama is a matter and a decision of His Holiness the Dalai Lama alone and the Tibetan Buddhist world, and the Chinese government have no right to interfere in the future reincarnation and the Buddhist practice. While applauding the passage of the Reciprocal Access to Tibet Act, Congressman Jim McGovern said, and I want to quote, "We are taking an important step forward on behalf of the human rights of Tibetans. We are reaffirming our support for the leadership of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and we're sending a message to the Chinese government that human rights is not negotiable. Supporting human rights is the moral thing to do, it is the right thing to do, and it is the American thing to do for Tibetans in China and elsewhere in the world." Most recently, as some of the speakers alluded to, President Joe Biden signed the Resolved Tibet Act, again, authored by Congressman Jim McGovern and Congressman Michael McCall. This act is truly significant and historic. In addition to recognizing the rights of the Tibetan people for self-determination under international law, this bill calls for a direct, meaningful dialogue with His Holiness the Dalai Lama or his representatives, or a representative from the Central Tibetan Administration. And more significantly, Section 5 of the findings state, and I quote, "The United States government has never taken the position that Tibet was a part of China since ancient time," unquote. This, I believe, is truly significant and historic as the US government for the first time challenges the false narrative that China has been propagating for the last several decades, saying that Tibet is a part of China since ancient times. To celebrate the 2024 Resolve Tibet Act and to honor Congressman Jim McGovern, the Regional Tibetan Association of Massachusetts will present a unique, custom-made silver replica of a stone pillar that still stands in front of the Chokang Temple in Lhasa City. This stone pillar is engraved with the Tibetan-China Treaty of 821-823, both in Tibetan and Chinese language. The Tibet-China Treaty of 821-823 was signed and ratified by both the Tibetan and Chinese emperor and states, and I quote, "The whole region to the east that belonged to the great country of China, and the whole region to the west belongs to the great country of Tibet. From either side of the frontier, there shall be no warfare, no hostile invasions, and no seizure of territory." It further states, and I quote, "In order that this agreement establishes an era where Tibetans are happy in the land of Tibet and the Chinese are happy in the land of China, this agreement shall never change." So therefore, in keeping with the spirit of the Resolve Tibet Act, it is only fitting to present this unique replica of the Chokang stone pillar to Congressman Jim McGovern, as it symbolizes the status as a historically independent nation and underscores the rightful sovereignty of the Tibetan people. In conclusion, on behalf of the 17th Tibetan Parliament and on my own behalf, I would like to once again thank Congressman Jim McGovern for being a friend, a global leader to protect human rights and peace. You are truly a source of hope and inspiration to all the oppressed people around the world, and especially those suffering inside Tibet. Thank you for being the voice of Tibet. Thank you for being the patron saint of Tibet policy on the Capitol Hill. Thank you, and may God bless America, and may God bless Tibet. Thank you.
Tuche na chidu tundrup siring la te julaya kun teringi kundren so ari trezo ome tumi kushab Jim McGovern chola tukje che chundön che chidu tundrup siring la ta sane Massachusetts pere chidun sokpe sokso tsirim la ni ne chagda phykyu.
We now come to a very special moment in today's event. Please join us as we present a special memento to Congressman Jim McGovern in recognition of his tireless efforts and support for the Tibetan cause. I would like to invite the North and South America member of Tibetan Parliament in Exile, Tundup Tsiringla, and Tundum Kunsangla, the president of Regional Tibetan Association of Massachusetts, to present the memento.
Tuche che na te julaya teringi kundren so kushab Jim McGovern chone sungshe nangyu.
Thank you, and now it is with great pleasure that I invite our keynote speaker, the man we've gathered here to honor, Congressman Jim McGovern.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to everybody who said so many nice things about me. I regret my wife is not here to hear, but I hope somebody recorded this. I'm almost speechless, and I am so humbled by the honor and by all the incredible words that have been said, and I am so humbled by all those who are here today. I've learned a lot from this community. And I think I speak for the elected officials who are here. You know, Lindsay and Nicole and Lynn and Gina Louise. I mean, we've all learned a lot from this community. We've been inspired by this community, and we are grateful for that. So I'm so, again, honored to be here. Thornton, thank you for your words. I mean, my dear friends from Washington, thank you for coming all the way up here and have the Sikhan come say the words he said is, again, it touches me deeply. So let me begin by saying Tashi Delek to everybody. Look, let me just say this. The reason why I feel strongly about being on the side of the Tibetan community here in the United States and around the world is because I believe very strongly that if the United States of America stands for anything, we need to stand out loud and foursquare for human rights. And this is a struggle for the human rights of the Tibetan people, plain and simple. I believe everybody on this planet should be able to be who they are, should be able to celebrate their traditions and their culture, should be able to worship as they see fit, to practice their religion as they see fit. I don't believe any other person or country has the right to take that away from people. And I have learned a lot about the history of Tibet and the struggle of the Tibetan people. I've had the honor of being in the presence of His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, on many occasions. Again, it is inspiring to me. And I'm somewhat jealous because the Tibetan attitude is something that I wish I had more of. When I saw His Holiness the Dalai Lama in June, I was able to get these nice Tibetan prayer beads that he blessed for me. I think to try to get rid of my negativity. It's not working yet, but we're going to continue. Maybe after the election, I'll feel more positive. But look, I woke up this morning and I turned on the news, and there's just so much turmoil and so much chaos, war and violence and destruction. I couldn't leave the news on for very long because it was so depressing. And the reality is none of that is preordained. None of that has to be. So much of that is taught, is passed on from generation to generation. And what we need to do is figure out a way to teach people an alternative view. And that's what I really admire about His Holiness and about the Tibetan culture so much, because it is about unity. It is about respect. It is about love. It is about joy. It is about contentment and happiness. And to me, that's the kind of world I would like to see. I would like to see our country be more like that. And when we saw His Holiness in June, he was 89th birthday, right? So we're building up to the big 90th birthday. But he is every bit as devoted to these causes as ever. I wish, for some reason, I wish we were amplifying his message more. And I wish people felt the pressure to follow his way versus what is happening all around the world right now. We are not born to hate one another. We are not born prone to violence or prone to disunity and destruction. Again, that is stuff that is passed on. That is stuff that is taught. That is stuff that is ingrained in us by people who want to continue the same trajectory that we've been on for so long. And so I was really appreciated the young Tibetans who were up here performing and helping us celebrate today. But to those young people, I want you to know, it's so hopeful to see you here. Because while China is working overtime to try to erase Tibetan culture, to try to destroy Tibetan identity, you're here. And you're learning about the Tibetan history, culture, and religion, and customs. And you're passing it on to new generations, and new generations will pass it on to new generations. So no matter how hard China wants to work toward the erasure of Tibetan culture, they're never going to succeed. They're never going to succeed. And the young people here today, I think, are the prime example of why they will not succeed. Let me just say a couple more things. And again, I apologize for being late. But I said at the beginning that I've learned so much from the Tibetan community here in Western Massachusetts, and quite frankly, all throughout this country, because I've been meeting with the Tibetan community in all different parts of this country. You need to stay involved, and you need to raise your voices, not only about the cause of Tibet, but about all that you believe in. I used to have a history professor who used to end every class by saying the same thing. He would say, remember, the world will not get better on its own. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I took his class, I didn't know what the heck he was talking about. I do now. I do now. Nothing changes for the better in our community, in our country, and in the world unless good people, like-minded people come together and demand that things change. You have so much to give. And I want to promise you this, that as long as I'm able to speak, and I think I speak for my colleagues in government as well here locally, you know, as long as we can get a word out, we want to amplify your message. Because I think love is better than hate. I think peace is better than war. I think respect is better than disrespect. And I just want us to, I want a better world. And you are a main force that will get us to that point. So again, I thank my friends for all the nice things they said about the legislation we've been able to pass in Congress. But that legislation came about after meetings with Tibetans in this country, and in Tibet, and in Lhasa, and in other parts of the world. I didn't come up with these ideas on my own. These are ideas that came from you. And I'm proud that we were able to pass and get these things done in a bipartisan way. There's not very much we can agree on in Congress, but we can agree on this, which is a good thing. But I want you to know I will always be wind at your back. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for this incredible honor. I feel blessed that I am in this room with so many friends. And again, I don't know what else to say, but you know, I love you all. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
투제체나 구샵 짐 McGovern la 대줄라야 산에 보스턴 기 브리지딘 속배 속소 야마툴루 상네 까틴 제제기 체 아니 착다 표규 구샵 짐 McGovern 촐라야.
Thank you, Congressman McGovern, for those inspiring words. Now, I would like to invite Yamatulu Tsangla, the president of Tibetan Association of Boston, to present a souvenir to Congressman Jim McGovern.
투제나 대줄라야 산에 에머스 매사추세츠 브리지딘 속배 소미카치네 탑시 안수 표기 멸람시베 강종 표기 멸람시베 탑시 별람시규.
To continue, please enjoy another cultural performance by the members of Regional Tibetan Association of Massachusetts performing Kangchen Pyoge Myelam.
Techulaya Sane Warmount Purin Chidin Sokbe Sokso Tsring Yangilane Kushab Jim McGovern Chola Tuche Cheshe Cheta Pukyu.
Now I would like to invite Sri Yankila, the president of Tibetan Association of Vermont, to present a token of thank you to Congressman Jim McGovern.
Tushena Techulaya Sane Massachusetts Purin Chidin Sokbe Tsokshun Chamba Jogalane Tukche Cheshe Sungshin Nangyu.
As we near the conclusion of our formal program, I would now like to invite the Vice President of Regional Tibetan Association of Massachusetts, Chamba Dogala, to deliver the thank you speech.
Tashidelek, and good afternoon to all. As we draw this inspiring afternoon to a close, I stand before you filled with immense gratitude and a profound sense of unity. On behalf of the Regional Tibetan Association of Massachusetts and Tibetans around the globe, I extend a deep gratitude and sincere appreciation to you, Congressman Jim McGovern. Thanks to your advocacy for Tibet, Tibetans inside and outside Tibet have a reason to find hope and persevere. And Tibetans around the world are rejoicing this very moment in history for your great achievements for Tibet and Tibetans. I thank your family members, Lisa Murray, Patrick, and Molly McGovern, for always standing tall by your side. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our special guest, representative of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Office of Tibet, Washington, D.C., Dr. Namgyal Chögyam, member of Tibetan Parliament representing North and South America, Chidut Thundup Siringla, President of International Campaign for Tibet, Tenche Gyatsola, former Tibetan Parliament member Chisu Dadu Shalingla, Jamben Yingbo Ling Sender Gishingawang Sengela, Kurukula Sender Boston Gishingawang Tenle, President of Tibetan Association of Boston Yamatonu Tsala, President of Tibetan Association of Vermont City Yangila, and President of Regional Tibetan Association of Massachusetts Surim Kunsangla, for your gracious presence today. I am also deeply thankful to our very special guest, State Representative of the 1st Hampshire District, Lindsay Sabadosa, State Representative for residents of Amherst, Mindy Dome, East Hampton Mayor Nicole LaChapelle, Northampton Mayor Gina Louis Sierra, Amherst Town Council President Lynn Grisma, and Western Massachusetts Director for Governor Maura Healey, Christine Alaco, for your gracious presence and for giving this event the honor it deserves. We remain forever grateful for your dedication and steadfast support for the Tibetan community in Massachusetts. Thank you. Thank you also to our other guest, Andrew Todd from Congressman Jim McGovern's office, Tibetan Association of Boston, former and current board members, for your presence as well. Thank you to the teachers, parents, and students of Tumilishe School for the beautiful performances that brought much joy in this room today. Special thanks to the executive board members of the Regional Tibetan Association of Massachusetts, the organizing committee members, and all our volunteers who have contributed a great deal to the success of today's event. A special note of gratitude goes to Jeffrey Mastroianni, Executive Director for East Hampton Media, Jackson Foot, Production Coordinator, and Alex Lamache, Executive Director of Hadley Media. As media partners, you have all been instrumental in the successful live stream of today's event. Thank you. Thank you to Tibettv for providing us with the support and platform to stream our event. To the Most Holy Redeemer Church, thank you for graciously hosting us in this beautiful venue. Once again, thank you very much, Congressman Jim McGovern, for your time, your dedication, your continued support for Tibet, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, and the Tibetan people. Let us leave here today with renewed commitment to support each other to champion the cause of Tibet. Thank you everyone for your presence, your spirit, and your support. Please enjoy our special Tibetan home-cooked lunch, followed by Tibetan circle dance called Gorshe. Thank you all for coming.